Hello guys, in this episode we'll start styling our application. We will be using Tailwind CSS framework, and at the end of the video we'll have a mobile-friendly layout that lists all of the blog posts from the database. So let's get started. Let's start by creating a new layouts folder inside app, resources, views, and let's create layouts. And let's create a new file, call it app.play.php. So let's start writing the base layout for our application. Let's create a head tag, website title, blog, application. Let's add the body tag and let's create a div with ID app. Let's create a main tag and add a paragraph content. We should also add a meta tag to make sure that our web application looks great on smaller devices. Before going any further, we got to make sure that we have Node and NPM installed. We can check it using our terminal by typing node v and npm version. As you can see, I have these installed, but if you get an error or something, you can download it on the official Node.js page. So when you got it installed, let's run npm install command. This will install all the packages defined by Laravel inside package.json file. So we'll be installing these packages. But we are mostly interested in this watch script, which will basically recompile all the assets and watch for CSS and JavaScript file changes. So let's run the command npm run watch. And let's include the styles inside the layouts file. For this, we'll use a special mix helper function. So let's test if everything is working correctly. Let's go to our routes, web, and let's return the newly created layout file. Return view layouts.app. Now if we go to the browser and refresh, we can see the dummy paragraph that we typed here. Let's change some styles to make sure that styles are working correctly. So let's go to app.css inside resource folder and let's add body background red. So as you can see, using the Laravel mix, the assets have been recompiled, and now when we refresh the browser, we should see the red screen. So it means it's working. And if we go to public CSS, app.css, we can see that it actually mimics our resources CSS file, and it has been recompiled. And later when we add more styles, Laravel will only care about this single CSS file. So now that we have the basic setup up and running, we are ready to install Tailwind CSS. So let's close all the windows. So let's go to the browser, tailwindcss.com. Tailwind CSS is a utility-first CSS framework which allows us not to worry about writing CSS or Sass and instead use utility classes. You will see how quickly we can build layouts, and it's actually a really powerful framework. So let's search for Laravel and let's follow the instructions. So we have already created the Laravel project. Now we can copy this command. Let's stop our npm watch script using Ctrl+C and let's paste the command. Now let's generate the config file. So running this command will create a config file inside the root directory, which we'll use later. Now let's go to the webpack mix file and let's add Tailwind as post CSS plugin. So we should require Tailwind CSS. And for the final step, let's go to resources, CSS, app.css. Let's remove this and let's add these few lines right here. So this should be good enough, and we can now finally start styling our application. So let's run the watch script. So as we see, the assets have been recompiled, and we can see that inside public CSS app.css, it actually contains the Tailwind custom styles. So let's close the windows. Let's go to routes, web, and remove this hard-coded route. Actually, we can remove all of this, and let's create a new route, which will be get. So when users enter this route, let's go to post controller class and index action. Of course, this class does not exist, so let's add another terminal window and run php artisan make controller posts controller. Now we can open the post controller, and first we can import it right here, and we should create an index action. So this method should actually return a new view, which will be post.index. So let's create this view. So I will create a new folder inside resources. It's right here. Views, new folder, posts, and inside it I will create a new file and call it index.blade.php and add the dummy header. So let's test it. Oh, I made a typo. So let's just copy this. So the view is not found. Posts. There should be post.index. Yeah, it's working. But we can see that the page does not have a page title, which we defined in our layouts file right here. We said that it should have a block application title, and we actually defined that we will have a div with an ID app. So if we open the developer tools in the Chrome, we see that we don't have that element right here, and head is also empty. So in order to make this layouts app.blade.php file a global wrapper around all other Blade files, we can add this yield directive right here. So let's delete this, add yield content. And now inside posts index.blade.php, we can inherit the main layout using the extends directive. So extends layouts.app. So this Blade file extends layouts.app file. And let's add a section, content. Let's add our dummy heading and section. So now, if we refresh the page, we can see the styles have been changed. And if we look at the DevTools, we can see the page title is shown, and also they have the div with ID app and the main tag as well. So to make things a little more clear, we can go back and add a few paragraphs. So this will be top, this will be bottom. Let's refresh. So as you can see, our content will be inserted in the middle between the paragraph tags. So this is a very powerful tool which allows us to define the layout once, make it import all the necessary styles, fonts, JavaScript files if needed, and or other Blade files just to extend the layout and not to worry about the bootstrapping functionality. So let's delete those dummy paragraphs, and now we are ready to start building the post page. So let's close all the tabs. Let's go to the post view, and we will start by building a mobile layout first, and then we'll move to the bigger resolutions. So let's delete this, and let's have a div which will have a heading, welcome to the blog, and the dummy paragraph. So now we can add a class, background gray 50. And by the way, I'm using a Tailwind CSS extension. So it allows this autocomplete helpers. So add padding on the top and bottom and padding on the sides. So now let's create another div and let's add a comment that this will be post wrapper. Inside it, we'll create another div. This will be for the post. So the post will have a header, another div, and inside we'll have an image, post thumbnail, and below we will have a content area. So div, here we will have a title, post text, and another div which will have an author name and the date the post was created at. So let's start with image. Let's go to Unsplash and find a random image. For example, this one. So let's copy image address. Let's paste it and add blog image. Now let's go to content. Title will be in the H3 heading, post title, and for text, let's add a dummy paragraph. And actually, let's resize the screen for smaller devices. And let's move the DevTools to the side so we can see the screen. And let's zoom in. So for the author, let's add a div, an image, which will be author avatar. And for this, I will just add a random avatar image. And down below, let's create another div. This will be the author name. And let's add the time, the date the blog was created at. So date time, let's add dummy data. And for example, December 28th, 2020. And let's add the mid-dot symbol and another span, which will indicate how long it will take for the readers to read a post. Let's see how we are looking. So you can see we have an author image, the blog image, but everything is so small. So let's add some classes. So let's scroll to the top and actually wrap this heading and paragraph in a div. And add a class text center. Let's increase the heading size. So maybe text for Excel, leading 10. And if you hover, you can see the properties this class applies. So let's add tracking tight, which will change the letter spacing. So let's make the font bold. Let's change the text color to gray 900. And let's see how we're looking. So for some reason, it's still very small. So it must be a mistake in the layouts app file. And so let's import the style attributes first, and let's rewrite this. So meta name will be viewport, and content will be with device width, and initial scale equals 1. So let's test it. Yeah, so as you can see now we can actually read the text and it's not so small. So let's go back to the post page and continue adding the classes. So the heading paragraph will have a padding on the top. Let's make the text extra large, leading 7. Let's make the color gray 500. So let's style the post wrapper. We can add margin on the top, and for the post, let's add the rounded borders, a large shadow, and overflow hidden. So it's hard to actually see it at the moment, but we will be able to see it clearer. So let's add class to this image. So it should be with full object cover. So now it fits nicely. And for the content, let's add padding on all the sides, and let's add margin to the post title. Make it extra large, leading 7, font semi-bold. Let's make it gray 900. And for the paragraph, let's also add some margin. Set text size to base, leading 6, text gray 500. And for the author section, so let's make this div have some padding on the top, display flex, and justify items in the center. And this div should have a class of flex shrink 0. Let's add class to this image. So height 10, width also 10, and let's make it rounded. So add some padding to the author name div wrapper, and actually let's add a class to the author name. So let's make the text small, leading 5, font medium, and text gray 900. And this div should also have a class flex, small text, leading 5, and text gray 500. Let's also add some margin on the sides for the dot. And let's see how we are looking. So let's copy and paste 3 more cards. So let's just copy this and paste it a few more times. Let's see how we are looking. So it seems nice. So now we can start styling for bigger resolutions. So let's put the Chrome tools on the bottom, and let's see. We can now actually delete those posts that we have created. Style one post and then copy and paste posts again. So I have deleted all the posts. Now I only have a single post. So let's set a max width for a page subtitle paragraph and make it centered. And for the post wrapper, let's set display grid. Let's set a gap 5, and as well set max width large, MX auto, and on large screen sizes the grid should have 3 columns, and on large screen sizes max width should be none. Actually, for the small screens, let's add padding of 6, and for large screen sizes, let's add padding of 8. So for the post, let's add a flex class and flex column. So the header should have a class of flex shrink 0, and for the content, it It should have a class of flex1, padding 6, flex call, and justify between. And let's wrap the post title and post text in a div. And it should also have a class of flex1. So again, let's copy this and paste a few times to better see how we are looking. So now on the larger screens, we have a grid layout, and on smaller screens, we have a single post. But still, we are missing some spacing on the sides. So let's see. So this should actually wrap all of our posts. Now let's see. Perfect. Looks good to me. We can now actually start populating this page with posts from the database. So if we look at the posts table, we can see that we have 5 posts. So let's use these posts instead of the dummy posts that we have added here. So let's go to posts controller and let's pass all the posts to the view. So we can do this by adding an array, posts, and post all. And let's import post class. And now inside the view, we have access to the posts. So let's die and dump the posts. Die and dump posts to array. So as we can see, we have the posts from the database. And we can use these curly braces to display the data. So let's delete this and also delete all of the posts we have added manually. And leave one. And now let's iterate over the posts and display them in our layout. So let's add a for each at the top. For each posts as post. And this should wrap this area, and let's see. So let's add the title. Again, curly braces, post title. And now that post title is being pre-filled from the database. So we can as well delete the dummy text and add post text. And let's add date. So date time should be post created at. And for displaying it, we can do something different. We can actually write created at div for humans. So what this will do is we'll change the date so it's easier to read it. So for example, if the post was created 1 hour ago, it will say it instead of using the date. So now let's add this helper that estimates how long should it take to read the post for the reader. So for this, we will divide the text character length by the human average character per minute reading speed, which I found to be about 863. So we can actually write post text divided by 863. This should be length, string length. So what do we get? So we get this number, and we can use a ceiling function. And let's add minute read. So let's increase the length of this text to see if it changes. So let's just copy and paste this paragraph a few times. So let's refresh it, and it's still too short. So let's add more. So let's see now. So now, as you can see, it's a 3-minute read. But as we can see, huge text just breaks our layout. So we should also fix this. So what we can do is right here, we can check if length of post text is greater than 200. We can substring it from the 0 of index to 200 characters and add dots. And else we just use post text. End of statement. So now let's see. Much better. So we have created a mobile-friendly layout that lists all of the blog posts, and also we learned some of the Tailwind CSS framework classes. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.